It's my pleasure to be here at the second edition of SIBCA, and I'm also a repeat visitor. I was here last year as well, and really good to see this event grow. And thank you, Mr. Larry, for your sponsorship of this event and for continuing this journey and considering us as a part of your family and inviting us to this event. My name is Sudhir Ranjan Sinha. I work for UL Solutions. I consider myself as a student of the smart building industry, and for the last 15 years, I have been working in this industry across a couple of different organizations in various capacities. And I'm really, really fascinated by this industry, and it has been a very rich learning experience personally for me. As many of you know, UL is one of the largest and one of the oldest and the most reputed testing, inspection, certification companies in the world across multiple verticals, including the buildings industry. UL has been synonymous with safety science, with sustainability, with security, and we not only do testing, inspection, certification, but we also have a very rich portfolio of software and advisory services. As I mentioned, I consider the buildings industry very fascinating, right? And there are many aspects and many dimensions to it. It is one of the most critical and significant industries in the world. Like roughly 6% of the world's GDP is contributed by the buildings industry. And whenever we have seen repeatedly that governments try to energize a particular local economy, they make investments and they increase investments in this sector. Even if we look at UAE, means UAE is today one of the leading economies in the world, which is known for many things, including innovation, including entrepreneurship, including progressive growth, and a very inclusive and well-diversified culture as well. Right. The mainstay of the economy has been in few different sectors, right? In the oil and gas industry, in trading, in hosting regional businesses. But across all of these sectors, the manifestation, how do we see it? We see it in the buildings, right? Today, UAE is known for not only the world's largest building in the world, right, Burj Khalifa, but also some of the most iconic structures and facilities. And it's fascinating to think that the first major building that came up in this country was less than 45 years back, DIFC. And the first the tall building in this country was about 40 years back, the World Trade Center towers. So in 40 years, the country went from its first tall building today to being one of the highest density of marquee tall buildings. And the economic prosperity, the growth, the energy of the economy and the entrepreneurship of the people and the vision of the leadership of this country gets manifested in its infrastructure, in the smart communities it has built. And we can see around the world similar things happening, even in the neighboring Saudi Arabia. As the country is diversifying its economy from oil into other areas, what is it doing? It's building some of the largest infrastructure and some of the most iconic buildings. So this is a real engine for growth, for prosperity, also for innovation. Today I'm going to touch upon three things. I'm going to talk about trends and opportunities in the smart building industry. Leading from buildings, I will touch upon systems, building systems. And third, I will touch upon the critical role companies like SIBCA have to play in pulling the future forward for this industry. So if you look at there are many major and mega trends which are happening in the buildings industry. Right? I will touch upon three. Number one is the energy transition. As we know that climate has a significant impact, and buildings have a very big role to play in that, in terms of emissions. Like buildings contribute roughly 39% of the global emissions and are responsible for about 36-37% of the global energy consumption. Right, so it has a huge climatic impact. And of course, that is very important. But along with the energy and emission story, there is also energy transition which is happening. So we are moving from natural, non-renewable sources into more renewable energy. There is a whole spate of electrification which is happening across multiple industries. For example, in the transportation sector, right? And Now cars, which had nothing to do with buildings or the building infrastructure, have to get charged, and they have to rely on the energy sources of the building, or they have to integrate with the energy, the power infrastructure of the building. Right, so there is a convergence of multiple different sectors, which are also happening because of the energy transition. Another very interesting point about energy transition is that in order to meet the 2050 climate goals, we know that the total energy consumption in the world has to come down. Not only what it is today, but it has remained stable, but it has to actually come down. That math has been already laid out if we want to meet the 1.5 degree climate challenge. But at the same time, between now and 2050, there is going to be 50% more urbanization. Today, roughly 6 billion people live in urban areas around the world. By 2040-ish, there will be 9 billion people living in urban spaces, which means more infrastructure needs to get created, which means that our energy consumption and emissions will increase. But to meet the climate goals, we have to reduce the total quantum. What that means is that we have to reimagine buildings, we have to reimagine building systems, we have to even reimagine and reframe the physics through which we operate the buildings today. So that's one megatrend which is happening, and that is very closely tied with the theme of sustainability that Mr. Larry laid out. The second megatrend that I want to touch upon is the emergence of ecosystems. Historically, buildings industry grew up in silos. We talked about fire, we talked about security, we talked about HVAC, we talked about elevators, lighting, all in independent silos, right? And systems got developed. In fact, the manufacturers also emerged in those silos, system integrators, the whole contracting, the whole procurement cycle of the buildings industry grew up in silos. But because of technology, the silos have started to converge, and they have started to converge in ecosystems. Plus also, the definition of those domains have expanded significantly. Historically, when we thought about safety in a building, we used to think about fire detection and fire suppression. When we thought about HVAC, we used to think about chillers and controls. But today, the definition of safety is not only limited to fire detection and fire suppression. Today, cybersecurity has a critical role to play in the safety, because if I have uncyber safe systems in the building that a bad actor can hack into, they can disable the systems, and that can have pretty bad consequences. Because of the focus of sustainability, people have been putting up solar PV panels, solar PV plants, energy storage in the building. Those change, as our colleagues in NFPA and us also have been working on, they change the fire safety profile of the building, right? So the way fire used to happen in a traditional building versus in some of those buildings with energy storage and with other alternate energy resources, you don't treat the fire the same way. So that also expands the definition of safety. Similarly, if we look at sustainability, just by achieving higher efficiency in the chillers or HVAC is not sufficient. Just by putting LEDs is not sufficient. We need to be able to control the environment. We need to be able to adapt the environment to operate the building more efficiently under different conditions. And post-pandemic, we have been seeing that commercial real estate has been transforming quite significantly, right? And the buildings have to be adapted to different kinds of usage. So now sustainability also gains a new definition. So from the siloed mentality of different building systems, we see the emergence of these ecosystems of different capabilities and different domains. The third trend that I'm going to touch about is the pervasive digitization that is happening. Whenever we have ecosystems with numerous components that naturally didn't grow in a unified way, in order for somebody to understand the different components and its performance in the overall ecosystem, as well as be able to control it and optimize it, digitization is the only way to do it, because now we can track each of the components, their performance, their opportunities, and then aggregate it at the ecosystem level and make choices. Just imagine that if we have a fire suppression system with numerous pumps. One of the pumps is not working efficiently and has less throughput. The efficacy of my entire suppression system is going to get impacted. Similarly, an HVAC system is comprised of dozens and dozens of different assets and equipment and hundreds of sensors. Some of them not working properly, some of them are having some calibration issues, can lead to very bad outcomes. So digitalization is the only way that we can detect those challenges, we can detect those performance degradations, we can identify the opportunities for improvement and take corrective actions in terms of control changes and control routines. So this leads to my second topic of smart systems. The word smart systems has been used in the buildings industry for about 10 odd years, but it has meant very different things to different people. So earlier this year, we took the challenge in UL Solutions to actually help sort this out. As you know that UL is known for writing standards and leading the world through standards and standardization and standard testing methods so that we can provide some clarity and some level of sanity to different industries that we serve. So we created a smart systems reference framework which defines a smart building system across 6 different parameters: cybersecurity, connectivity and interoperability, controls and automation, functional value, safe resilience, and digital experience. And in digital experience, we not only look at user experience, but also look at the data and information governance, including topics like privacy. So the smart systems help and support the digitalization goals of the buildings and the built environment. And this is one of the fastest growing sectors within the buildings industry. There are estimates that within the next 5 years, the smart technologies component of the buildings industry will be in excess of $50 billion globally. So we are seeing a lot of innovation coming in this space. We see new kinds of IoT applications and sensors and systems coming into play. Very exciting and a very vibrant space for all of us to watch out and learn from, where a lot of investment and innovation is being applied today. This brings me to my third topic about the critical role that a company like SIBCA can play. And to me, SIBCA is an amazing platform that can help with this transformation of the buildings industry, not only the buildings, but also the communities, in helping them become more safe and sustainable, as Mr. Larry pointed out, right? What does SIBCA bring to the table? Many things, right? But I'll touch upon the top 3, which I think are fairly unique. One, it actually has got a lot of rich, diverse experience of servicing, installing, maintaining different types of buildings in different countries, in different verticals, right? It works in commercial real estate, it works in the hospitality industry, it works in data centers, large infrastructures, all different kinds of environments. So it has got that practical experience of operating in buildings. SIBCA didn't grow up, like somebody imagining some technology solution, but it actually grew up in the real practical experience of buildings, knowing what the problems are, knowing what the opportunities are. It has got a very large install base. The diversity and that size actually amplifies that learning and that opportunity and that rich knowledge base. Plus, with the visionary leadership that SIBCA has, SIBCA is able to, one, really take the solution mindset from a very practical standpoint. Instead of taking a technology-first approach, it is taking a digital-first approach, but considering the practical needs of the environments of the future. Second, it actually is able to not only solve, but also partner with the building owners and the building operators on a longer horizon, right? And it has created platforms like SIBCA Connect, which I believe we will be hearing about more later today, which are very futuristic. Our partnership with SIBCA is on many different fronts, right? As SIBCA expands into manufacturing, we are helping certify some of their products. We have a partnership on SPIRE, which is our smart building assessment framework, which we announced several months back. Actually, last SIBCA we had done the MOU, and then I believe that right now, Shwetank, your team is doing several assessments in the UAE with some fairly large installations, and we will get some very rich insights of how those buildings actually could be improved in the future, how risk mitigation can happen, and how they can be made ready for the future transition. So our partnership on SPIRE, Smart Building Assessment, is also expanding. Then we have taken some of the SIBCA's digital platforms through our Smart Systems Verification Program. And that actually gave a lot of great insights, which Richard will be talking about later. To me, SIBCA Connect is something very fascinating, right? Because not only is it a great technology solution, but this is the first time where I'm seeing that indigenously developed technology from the UAE is now potentially getting exported to the Western world. This large construction industry, this buildings industry in this country and in this region has grown up through imports. Imports of all the great solutions that we see around this room. But now, in future events like this, hosted by other people in other parts of the world, we'll see a SIBCA booth, right? With SIBCA Connect and other solutions from SIBCA. That, to me, is a first. And that's something that I would like to congratulate the SIBCA team on. So the future is going to be very interesting, and it requires an ecosystem approach for, as Mr. Larry pointed out, multiple industry stakeholders, manufacturers, system integrators, architects, engineers, standard bodies like NFPA, and UL, and agencies like us, coming together in solving the duality problems of sustainability as well as safety. Thank you very much for this opportunity.